Michigan is on just day 4 of the search to replace Sharon Moore as the head coach, and there are a ton of narratives that are just flat out wrong going around. We're separating fact from fiction on this episode of Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Sunday. We're back and doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Thank you to all of our everydayers who watch or listen to the show every single day. Also, big thank you for making us your first listen. First, I want to get into some message board and internet fodder, from donor rumors to athletic department investigation to a prominent reporter saying things about the search is just not true. Then we're going to get more into the coaching search itself, more on the favorites, where Michigan stands, where it is in the process of hiring a new coach. And then finally, we'll branch out and I'll share you a little bit more about what I'm hearing about the state of the team, what to expect in the Citrus Bowl, and dispelling a rival once again, because we just can't help ourselves usually. All right. So lots to get into, hence we have a special Sunday episode. First and foremost, there's just a lot of weird things that are coming out here when it comes to the state of everything. And one of the rumors that I've heard quite a bit here recently is that the donors are withholding money. The donors aren't on the same page. Michigan is hemorrhaging money. Listen, part of what I said, I probably should have been more clear. But of course, there's what I said last week about there was a group of donors. It wasn't all donors, wasn't even necessarily, I don't even know who they are for sure. But I'd heard from multiple people that some donors had looked to hire lawyers because they were trying to get to the bottom of the Sharon Moore stuff, with the idea that they were going to be able to prove it by the time that you got to this point. Now, I stand by that, but I couldn't tell you who it was. I heard it from multiple people that were completely disconnected. That's how sourcing tends to work. But I do want to take a step here and say, because I've seen things of like, oh, there's major donors withholding money. Michigan's not going to have the money. There's all, there's all these types of, they're not going to have the money unless this person's hired. They're not going to have this unless this, so on and so forth. All of that is bunk. So I've spoken to some people, names that you would almost certainly know, and people who would absolutely know the state of affairs at the moment. And one of them is like, okay, number one, none of that is true whatsoever. Like, not at all. Like, we're in a really good shape as far as everything going the way it's supposed to go. I spoke to another person who, again, called BS on the whole thing and says, like, we're actually like bringing in more now that Sharon's gone compared to vice versa. So I feel like you've seen a lot of agendas taking place. And that's one of the things that I want to kind of get to right now too, is like agendas have been clearly, you're seeing it. I'm not going to mention exactly what they are for reasons, but like if you spend any time on message boards, spend any time on X or whatever, you're seeing that there are certain agendas that are being pushed. There are campaigns being pushed. There are agendas being pushed. Some of it's geared towards getting a specific candidate. Some of it's geared towards getting Ward Manuel ousted. Now, we'll talk about the athletic department investigation momentarily, but you've got a lot of different disparate entities at work in certain factions. But when it comes to Michigan being aligned towards getting the next person, towards getting, and we'll get more into that in segment 2, but like towards that, towards fundraising, towards all of those things, like that's not a thing. There is not this complete if I don't get this candidate, then therefore, I'm not going to pledge this amount, whatever. I'm going to withhold and I'm going to see, like, no, there certainly is some caution, right? Of course, because, you don't want the people that matter when it comes to making this decision, the people who can finalize and pull the strings to go rogue, right? Like, not that they are, but like there is not this the NIL and all of that is in a great place. Don't let anyone deceive you. It is in a fantastic place. I'll say this. One person told me that money is of no issue when it comes to assembling and maintaining the roster. And that goes across football and basketball. They're still in a great place as far as that's concerned. As far as the athletic department investigation, I've seen some that are starting to kind of get like, hey, like, it might, like they might uncover some more stuff. I don't think Michigan wants it out there. Michigan's the one who initiated the athletic department investigation. This is not the NCAA doing it. This is Michigan doing it. Because Michigan wants to find out, like, because there have been full disclosure, as I've said before, I know and like Ward Manuel. Okay. But at the same time, I would understand if Michigan decided to move on from him, given that there have been some versions of scandals, particularly with the coaches, in all three major sports in Ann Arbor. And with that, yeah, it's hard to keep your job even if you're fully above board because all these things happen on your watch. That's what it is. That's what the investigation is. It's to find out who knew what when it came to this stuff. How were all of these other things handled? Were they all handled correctly? It's not to uncover more dirt that the NCAA is going to get. And it's not like this extra cheating stuff, all of that, the stuff that you see out there in the ethos, right? Like if you tune into any national radio, TV, you're going to get a lot of disparate information, and it's going to make you feel, if you're a Michigan fan, like things are way worse than they already are. They're already bad, right? But what it is the Sharon Moore stuff. It's a national embarrassment. It's not an NCAA violation. It's not like an added thing, right? It's not like, okay, now they're going to be able to dig under the hood and all these new things are going to be, new things might be uncovered, right? Because that's kind of the point of the university looking into the athletic department and hiring a lawyer to do so. What it isn't is like, oh man, we're going to learn so much more about Signgate. And it's going to turn out that it was so much more than we ever thought. No, that's not everything Connor Stalions, Signgate. We've covered that. We've covered it from day one. Connor Stalions is on this show once a week, right? Like, we know what happened there. And I understand there's others that don't want to believe that. Understand there are people, again, who want to believe that Michigan did put out the Sharon stuff now because they wanted to sign their recruiting class and see if they could beat Ohio State. Again, that's the whole reason I told you about the donor stuff last week, was because there were people working diligently trying to get proof. And as much as people want to say, oh, well, they could have just done this and done that. Like, okay, if you're not going to, number one, if you're like, hey, Sharon, give me your phone. If it's, you can compel him to give the work phone. A lot of these guys have work phone and personal phone. You can't compel the other, right? Like, and you can sit there and say, well, we're taking it, otherwise you're out. Like, they're not going to do that to one of their highest paid employees. They're just not. No corporation based off of rumor is going to do that. So understand that. Okay, last part. We're going to be pretty long today, I feel, because there's a lot to get through. Tony Paul of the Detroit News tweeted this. I'm hearing agents of many football coaches are taking a cautious approach with the Michigan job, surely because of the questions surrounding AD Ward Manuel's future, plus the school has an interim president. The brand will get them a name, maybe not the first choice, though. That is completely false. That is unequivocally false. I've spoke to someone that would 100% know. I've spoken to many people, right? Like, I have not, and listen, I don't like being in this like insidery thing, and I'm not going to pretend that I know everything about everything. That's also been like we'll get to that here in a second in the segment 2. But there's been a lot of misinformation even coming from really good sources. But like, no, agents are salivating right now from everything I've heard. Absolutely salivating, to the point where I think some of the things that agents are saying is kind of getting into the fodder of everything, and where it shouldn't be when it comes to like what's actually happening versus whatever. Like there is not this, we got to be careful, and therefore Michigan's going to get like, they're going to have to get a lower level name. We've cautioned against that as it is, but like just that particular tweet, I sent it to someone that would know, and they condemned it straight away. So I and considering like everything I had heard from the people I have talked to, I'm talking like firsthand sources, second, third, fourth, like, you get we're covering all the bases. Like everyone who's ever been kind of clued into anything, whether it's the pay sites or people in my situation here, where sometimes I have inside info, sometimes I don't, right? Like, again, I'm not pretending to be like an insider to all things, but when I have intel, I have them. I have connections. I don't flex them, and I'm not always trying to use them. But with something like this, I'm trying to get to the bottom of things, because I get tired of seeing just falsehoods put out there. Things that damage them right now. Ultimately, when Michigan gets who it gets, the chances are it's going to be okay, right? Like, and that will dispel the rumors in and of themselves. But that is assuming that things go the way it looks like they are going. But does that mean Michigan has a favorite? Let's get into that, and let's do that here in just a moment. But before we do, the holidays are officially here, which means gift hunting season is on. And if you want something meaningful, personal, and guaranteed to get a reaction, Aura Frames is the gift that delivers every single time. It's not just something you wrap, it's a way to share memories, because Aura isn't your average picture frame. You can preload the frame with photos before gifting it. So then when they plug it in, the memories are already there. There's no apps to figure out, no setup headaches, just instant smiles. My grandma has one of these, and not one time goes by that I go to her house that she isn't pointing out pictures on it, talking about the memories that she has, how much she loves the pictured people in the family, and I mean, it's every single time. You can add a personalized message right inside the frame so the gift feels thoughtful. The moment that it's open, the package comes gift ready, no price tag, no holiday, no wrapping rather. It's just a huge win. Holiday gift that's actually getting used. It's not getting forgotten in a drawer. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver Mat frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using the promo code COLLEGE at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code COLLEGE. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast, so order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us, Locked On Wolverines, at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Thank you for making Locked On Wolverines your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports network. Hold on a second. Here we go. There we go. Nope, that's still not it. There we go. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Wolverines with no interruptions, members-only Discord. And here we go. We're still having problems here. And more, all just for $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedonwolverines.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. All right. Got a lot going on. Here's the thing. For those who sometimes say I'm disorganized, the show flows better when I'm more disorganized compared to being organized, because I'm organized today. And there's a lot going on behind the scenes here. So let's get to the favorites thing. First off, I want to say this. There's an idea that Michigan has one favorite. They should be announced at any time, right? Like Friday night, there was all this Kenny Dillingham. That's happening. I was hearing a lot of smoke too. Like there certainly was smoke. Then yesterday on Saturday, it was a mixture of like Jed Fish And then there seemed to be a Biff Poggi campaign here. Like no one's really seemingly talking about Kalen DeBoer. Other names come up. Here's from everything I've heard from high level people, from colleagues. Like it varies, right? Like I like to double check with colleagues after I've heard something, just to see, hey, are you hearing something similar? Other, especially when I'm getting tips from well-placed people who you would trust if they told you that, but I still like to double check as much as I can. But no, I do not believe that. Number one, I don't believe that anyone has turned Michigan down. And I do believe that not only is everyone still on the table, they're still kind of like, right, they hired turnkey for a reason, right? Like this isn't a scenario where it was like, okay, we know what we're going to go get for sure. And we're going to place an offer and it's going to go from there. Do I think that some are more interested than others? Absolutely. Do I think like it's realistic that Michigan could end up with a Kalen DeBoer or a Kenny Dillingham? I do, despite whatever anyone else says at this point, just kind of based off of what I've heard. Does it mean either is close to a done deal? No, it does not. I do believe that they, along with other candidates on the board, are listening to Michigan at this point. And when I say they, I mean, it's a large part like their camp, right? I think there have been some who have at least had some preliminary interviews based off of some colleague intel. That's not my any of my higher level sources coming in here. But I don't believe it's down to 2. I don't believe it's down to 1. I don't think it's just solely like, hey, Kalen DeBoer is going to, it depends on what happens in the game. Like I do think for his own candidacy, it depends on what happens on Friday in the college football playoff, certainly. But I don't think like that's where it stands right now. I've gotten a lot of texts of people that have been getting anxious because they felt like there's going to be a head coach named at any point, or feel like there's one candidate that's going to come above the fray and you want that certainty. We are not in that timeline right now. It's been 4 days since Michigan fired Sharon Moore, and since he's been arrested and all of that stuff, right? So it's been 4 days. And while they did move very quickly, I will say this, they did move the university from all not all accounts. I've had, again, disparate accounts from different people. People I trust have told me things that I feel are incorrect once you kind of weigh everything. Okay? Because, if we would have done this show yesterday, I probably would be singing a different tune. But then I was like, okay, I got to check with some people that were maybe closer to the situation. Let me put it that way. But I think that the way this types of things work is like, yeah, I've heard numbers thrown out there for contracts and things of that nature. And as someone told me, like, that's certainly what agents would love to have out there. That doesn't mean that it's in reality. And that I had a colleague tell me the same thing based off of their sources. People that, maybe if you don't trust me, you do trust them type of people, right? But no, I don't believe that we are down to a couple. I don't believe that that anyone has told Michigan no at this juncture. Does that mean that Michigan lands one of the 2 I just mentioned? No, it doesn't. Do I think that they are among the top choices at the moment? I do, but like that can change. And that could change on either side, Michigan side or those other candidates. So that's kind of where it stands at the moment to everything that I've heard. I believe that that's where it stands. And I know that there's a lot of people that want to be the one that say like that we're first, and there's a lot of people that want to act like they're in the know. But I think the John U. Bacon axiom of like, yeah, nobody knows anything. And ultimately, that's kind of true. And I understand the irony of me sitting here saying, like, actually, what I am saying to you is not that I know anything. It's that anyone who says with any degree of certainty that they know exactly what's going on in terms of like where Michigan stands with any candidates, other than they're still working on it. And, and they're still like going through lists and vetting and doing all those types of things, right? Like, that's where it's at in reality. Like, so essentially I'm saying no one really knows anything, but like, I know some others that know, like, okay, it's not whittled down yet, right? Like, it's whittled down maybe a little bit, but it's not whittled down to the point of like, okay, now they're just waiting till Friday to hire Kalen DeBoer or not hire Kalen DeBoer. They're not just like, okay, that they're waiting on Kalen DeBoer to do the Kenny Dillingham. Like, I don't think that's where it is at this stage. I think they're doing their due diligence, as they should, as considering everything that just happened, you should want, right? So there's that. All right, we're going to continue on. We've got plenty more to get to, and we are going to get to where the team is and a whole lot more. We're going to do that here in just a moment. But before we do, NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. The receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. All right, one other thing I want to dispel with the Sharon Moore stuff, by the way. I wish I would have done this up top, and we'll do it again probably during the week. There's this rumor that he had outside of the staffer in question. I think he cast a wide net from everything that I've known and have been told and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think that, hearing that, he got another person pregnant, like I'm under, that works at Valor Gym. I'm under pretty solid authority that that's completely bunk as well. That's just what happens with a lot of this stuff. And I understand it's hard to wade through this, but like, that's been a rumor that's been going around since before all this became public, and it was debunked before. I just want to not put people in the crosshairs that shouldn't be in the crosshairs. I'd rather we move on from that. Again, a really good source there that 100% would know. So yeah, just wanted to get that out there. Like, let's keep the main thing in every one of these topics. Like, we're going to cover a lot of topics here, but let's still let's not just start going down and creating new rumors or, assuming every rumor is true and all of that kind of stuff. We know what we know. Now, right? Clearly, based off of what happened on Wednesday and beyond. But it's we and when I say we, I mean even myself, got to be better and as good as we can about making sure we get all of these things right. Not right 100% of the time. I promise you that. Even when like I've said before. I'll use an older example because it comes to mind straight away. Like I came on this show back in 2020. Would it have been 2020 or 2021? It was before it was on video, that's for sure. And was like, listen, there's nothing to worry about with Xavier Worthy. And at that time, it was actually true, but, it ended up not being true. And ultimately, and my source there was Josh Gaddis. So and not to burn a source, but I'm not worried about it right now. But that's when you get someone like that telling you that, then you assume that is accurate information. And it was at the time. It just, things changed, right? That's kind of how things can work. As far as the team is concerned, I've heard from multiple people at this point that they're in good shape in a lot of ways. Now, I don't know, I've seen, and I didn't double check the veracity of the going around. The Zeke Berry retweeted this thing from Brandon Walker about how the team didn't like Sharon and they were going to be better off. I don't know if he did put that out there or not. I will say that I've heard multiple people tell me that they are in a good spot. Like they really like Biff Poggi, the pictures you've seen out there, him putting out the we're in this together post, all of that. Like that's not just like PR. It's accurate from what I've heard. There's obviously some moments where guys on the team individually are down because like they feel either misled or betrayed, or they're just sad in general from the circumstances that happened, as anyone would, so, but I've heard that guys are not just in good spirits. They're like fired up. They're ready to go. And with that, I had one somewhat tertiary source tell me that so when I say tertiary, this is why I try to qualify this, right? Like this wasn't like I spoke to Chip Lindsey, or even I spoke to someone who spoke to Chip Lindsey. It's more like I spoke to someone who spoke to Chip Lindsey, right? Like tertiary, third, fourth degree. So take it for what it's worth. But like that his offense will finally truly be on display against Texas. Now, they've got to do that against the Texas defense, of course. But from everything it sounds, it's like guys aren't sitting there holding their heads down. They're like, let's go, let's do it. They feel like based off of that, again, the tertiary source, kind of sounds like they feel like the shackles have been taken off to some degree. Because as much as I dispelled some things, because I had a high level source tell me on the field after the Central Michigan game. So that's placing it. Okay. That's telling you like where and when that like the offensive game plan was dictated by Sharon Moore. Like hey, we're going to set Bryce loose. It's kind of like Steve Dace has said, though, like Sharon tried to hand Bryce the offense multiple times. He was unwilling to take it in some of those games. So, it's not that just, like all things can be true. Shackles were on, sometimes unnecessarily. And at times Bryce was like unwilling to acquiesce and was not playing well. So things went back into his shell, right? Like that's, I think, the best way to essentially put it. But it does sound at least like Michigan's going to try to really put out a showcase. And if you're Chip Lindsey, of course, and like Biff Poggi, all of these coaches, of course you're going to. Of course you're going to try to do things the opposite. Stop being conservative. It's the last game. You're auditioning for a job, not just in Ann Arbor, but elsewhere. Depending on who you are, yeah, you're auditioning in Ann Arbor. Some of them are like have to know like I'm probably not going to be retained by the new coaching staff, so I got to make sure that I put my best foot forward. Or yeah, hey, maybe if I show out whatever new coach, maybe they aren't married to an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, whatever it might be. And I need to show what I can do, right? So there's that. But ultimately, I think that you're going to see a little bit of a different Michigan team to some degree. I think that I think it should be a very exciting game because of this. I know like a lot of people are going the other way and saying like, oh, take Texas. But like at what point did Sharon Moore being on the sideline ever feel like, man, the team is just rallied behind the fact that he's out there? It hasn't. He has won a total of one game by blowout, by TKO, one as the head coach. So it does not feel like what you've seen from other coaches that Michigan's had. So I think it's going to be interesting. Last thing, see Justin Spiro moving on to this Blake Corum LLC stuff again. Pablo Torre apparently followed him back, and people are like, oh, watch out. Like, I've said it before. I'm going to say it again for the sake of just like, we're just in separating fact from fiction. Number one, that whole thing, it is just as simple, because sometimes, you want the big conspiracy. Like, we can't be living in conspiracy theory land all the time. I understand that's what they have. And yes, Spiro was right about all the Sharon stuff. There's a reason why I never dispelled it. I could tell you exactly why. I'm not going to. why he knew that. But when it comes to the Blake Corum, that's wish casting, right? Like, so you're telling me that Blake Corum and Connor Stalions formed an LLC, never had, like, people like to say it's their vacuum business. That's, again, completely separate thing. The vacuum business is something that Connor had with a different friend. So you're telling me that they were going to get involved in some things that were illegal, so they filed paperwork to ensure that they could have a taxable entity, and then also never did anything beyond that. And somehow, like, this was like the master plan. All right. So there's nothing to that. There's never been anything to that. There's been a bunch of, like, wish casting and going well beyond Occam's razor to make that into a thing. And you're also telling me that the NCAA, when they were able to look fully under the hood everywhere, decided that, yeah, that's all real, but we don't care about that, as much as they were clearly looking for a pound of flesh. Okay. Cool. And you're telling me Justin Spiro sat on it this entire time. He's been, like, hyping it, but, like, has sat on it until now. Just biding his time. He wouldn't put it out there, like, way earlier. I'm just telling you to keep your eyes out for grifters when you see one. And on that terrible disappointment, it's time to end. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We will be back on Monday, and we'll continue to get into all of this stuff. So we appreciate it. Talk to you soon. Peace.